Now the green blade rises from the buried grain. Weed that in dark earth many days has lain.
Love lives again, that with the dead has been.
Love has come again like we are rising green. In the grave they laid him, love by hatred slain, thinking that he would never rise again.
Laid in the earth, like grain that leaves unseen.
Come again like we are rising green. For he came in triumph like the risen grain. He that for 3 days in the grave had lain.
Raised from the dead, my living Lord is seen.
Love is come again like we are rising green. When our hearts are wintry, grieving or in pain, your touch can call us back to life again.
Fields of our hearts that dead and bare have been.
Love is come again like we are rising green.
Love is
Come again like we are rising green.
Joshua 1:9. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go.
After God led the Hebrews out of Egypt, through the Red Sea, and gave them signs and wonders, and they were in the desert for an extended period of time, they finally came to Kadesh in the wilderness of Paran, which was not far from the promised land, and the people began to get excited. And they decided to send 12 spies, one leader from each tribe, and send them into the land to evaluate the land, get a look at the enemy defenses and what the promised land was made of and what was there, who was there, what did it look like, and try not to get caught, try not to be detected. And they took 40 days, and they went from the south to the north, and the Hebrews were so excited. They were waiting for this news to come back. And finally, they came back, and they were all intact, not detected, and they reported of great fruit, great abundance, and riches, but also problems. Walled cities, impenetrable walled cities, strong people, and great military people, and also giants. And the people, when they heard this, they started to get discouraged. And not just discouraged, but they started to get angry that they had been brought all this way and that they couldn't finally achieve their goal. And they were discouraged, they were distraught, they were stressed, and they finally turned angry. And the anger turned against the two spies, Caleb and Joshua, because Caleb and Joshua had a different report. First of all, Caleb and Joshua did not sugarcoat the problem. They didn't say, oh, it's nothing, those giants are small, those walls are weak. No. They said the walls are strong, and so are the people. But they said, let us go up at once and possess it, for we are well able to overcome. And that was not accepted by the people, unfortunately. The people got angry with Caleb and Joshua to the point where they wanted to stone them until God intervened directly. Later, the people came to their senses a bit and changed their mind. And Deuteronomy records that people said, "We have sinned against the Lord, we will go up and fight, according to all that the Lord has commanded us." And when he had girded on every man his weapons, and they went up for battle, of course, disaster ensued because they did not follow God's plan. What does this have to do with us? The 12 spies going into Canaan. We face a situation right now that there's nothing like it that I've ever seen. It's a situation where the future is scary. The reports vary greatly in severity. And the people are growing increasingly worried and afraid. And we, like Caleb and Joshua, have something better to offer. We have a message. Joshua 1:9 says, "Have I not commanded you? Be strong and of good courage. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." Isaiah 41:10 says, "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." Psalm 56:3, "But when I am afraid, I will trust in you." Romans 8:28, "All things work together for good for them that love God." We have much to offer in these times. What is it that we face? What are the walled cities and the giants and the armies? There's a virus that's brand new, and that means no one has a built-in immunity to it. No one. A person can be infected with no symptoms for 5 to 14 days. It can last on surfaces and be picked up by a new person. It can require extended periods in the hospital for those that are sick in order to get well. And finally, people that are older and have certain conditions like heart disease and others can have up to a 1 in 10 chance of dying from this virus. And so this is a very serious threat, a real problem. We should not sugarcoat it. It's a real problem. What is going to happen? Well, if people move around a lot, then infections will surge. And a lot of people get infected at once, and the hospitals will be overwhelmed. That's if a lot of people move around in contact with a lot of other people. If people stay in more, then it spreads slower. But then people are out of work. And trade is slowed, and the economy is slowed. And it could take months. The economy will suffer. Businesses will close. Some businesses will close. A lot of people will be out of work. We face a real situation that we've never faced before. It's a situation where I wish my grandmother were here. She would know what to do. She had jars of supplies stored. And my grandmother's generation knew something of this, of staying in and being self-supportive and lasting through hard times. What are we to do? We are God's children, and we have a special message to the world. And we cannot meet like we normally do. We are a bit like Daniel, pulled from our regular worship, pulled away from our normal interactions and our friends, and restricted more and more and more alone. But Daniel purposed in his heart, didn't he? This is without his parents nearby, without his synagogue. He purposed in his heart, and Daniel got closer to God. This is the same Daniel of who it was said, "You are highly esteemed. Consider carefully the words I'm about to speak to you, and stand up, for I have now been sent to you." And so we face a situation a little bit similar to that. We will be pulled apart. But perhaps we will actually grow closer to God and not farther from God. Perhaps we will dig deeper into the Word and use this as a time to walk with God. If we're to outreach, we need to use different tools. We used to have big tent revivals. We used to have network evangelism, televised. And now we need to use different tools. We need to be purposeful about keeping in contact with people. We can't even go door to door anymore. So we need to call people. We need to find out how they're doing. We need to tell them to not be afraid. We need to pray with people. We need to text. We can't be sitting on the bank of the lake because we can't use our net anymore. Maybe it's time to learn to fish with a spinner. And finally, the third part to consider is the signs of the times, right? The gospel says, as Jesus sat at the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, "Tell us, when will these things be? And what will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age?" And Jesus answered them, "See that no one leads you astray, for many will come in my name, saying, 'I am the Christ,' and they will lead many astray. And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not alarmed. For this must take place, but the end is not yet." And I want to highlight that. See that you are not alarmed. Why would that be? People that are not alarmed in an emergency, in a crisis, people that are calm attract others to them. And that will be us. Jesus said, "For nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are but the beginning of the birth pains." And I believe this is where we're at. We are given a taste right now of what it would be like to not buy or sell. Revelation says, "And the beast also causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to be marked on the right hand of the forehead, so that no one may buy or sell unless he has the mark." We can buy and sell, but it's restricted and supplies are limited. Something very un-American to have limited supplies when you go into the grocery store. It's a taste of what it might be like, what it will be like in the future when trade is restricted, buying and selling is no more. And so maybe this is a wake-up call in a way. First, Jerusalem was besieged, then there was a little break, then the end came. So this is a time for us to fill our lamps. This is the time when the bridegroom is delayed and your lamps need to be full. How do you fill your lamps? How do you draw closer to God like Daniel did, like Joseph did, in times of adversity, in times of separation? How do you draw closer to God? Well, we know Daniel's habits. What did Daniel do? Daniel prayed. Daniel purposed in his heart. Daniel encouraged his friends. But prayer is the key. Prayer is not limited in any way right now. You can pray as much as you want. You can pray for your country. You can pray for the world. You can pray for your neighbors. You can pray for peace and people's hearts to turn to God. It's time to let your light shine and give hope to those who are afraid. You are the ones that are adopted sons and daughters of God. And so you're going to be different in a time like this. We're going to be different. It's time to let people see that difference. It's time to be like Caleb and Joshua and remind people that there are challenges and things are bad, but God is bigger. It's time to be like Daniel and have a personal walk with God and to remember the promises and the prophecies that we've been given.